Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt a quiet frustration, a sense that you were meant for more, but something, somewhere, is holding you back? You work hard, you have goals, but your life seems to be running in place. What if I told you the hand holding you down isn't your own? What if the anchor that stops your ship from sailing towards its destiny is disguised as a friend? Stay with me, because what we are about to discuss is the key to finally cutting that rope. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt a quiet frustration, a sense that you were meant for more, but something, somewhere, is holding you back? You work hard, you have goals, but your life seems to be running in place, like a ship fighting a current you cannot see. What if I told you the hand holding you down isn't your own? What if the anchor that stops your ship from sailing towards its destiny is disguised as a friend? Stay with me, because what we are about to discuss is the key to finally cutting that rope. All of us, rich or poor, young or old, educated or not, are the sum total of our journey. Every experience, every conversation, every choice has left its mark like a chisel on stone, shaping the person we are today. Every thought we've entertained, every book we've read or ignored, every triumph, every heartbreak, all of it has been woven into the fabric of our character. The life you have today, your bank account, your health, the peace in your heart is not an accident. What we are and what we have slowly, methodically brought upon ourselves. And yet, it is a fundamental human trait to look outside ourselves for the source of our dissatisfaction. It is human nature to blame. We point our fingers at the government. We blame the economy. We curse the traffic for making us late. We complain about the weather, our competitors, our managers, our employees. We insist that if only circumstances were different, we would be different. We have become masters of explaining why we are not where we want to be. We have a PhD in justification. But let me share with you one of the earliest and most important lessons I ever learned. It's a lesson that separates the drifters from the drivers, the spectators from the players on the field of life. You cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction instantly. The story goes that two men stood on a shore. The same wind blew upon both. One looked at the wind and complained, "This wind is against me. It is blowing the wrong way. It is ruining my plans." And so he stood still, defeated by the wind. The other man, feeling the very same wind, did something remarkable. He didn't try to change the wind. He knew that was impossible. Instead, he reached down and adjusted his sail. He skillfully turned the force that was holding the other man back into the very force that propelled him forward. The wind, my friends, is always blowing. The winds of disaster, of opportunity, of change, of circumstance, they will blow upon us all. The great difference in where we arrive in 5 years or 10 years is not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail. And what is the sail? The sail is your philosophy. It is the way you think. It is the mental framework you use to process the events of your life. And the moment you stop blaming the wind and start taking full responsibility for the set of your sail is the moment you reclaim the power to architect your own life. What happened yesterday, what happened 5 minutes ago is only important if you allow it to be. The past's greatest value is as a teacher, not a tyrant. So let us make a pact, you and I, right now. For the remainder of our time together, we will abandon the comfort of blame. We will let go of the easy excuse. We will stand on this fundamental truth. I am responsible. This is where all meaningful change begins. Now, once you accept responsibility, you become aware of a master law that governs all of life. It is more powerful than any government, more predictable than any stock market. It is the law of sowing and reaping. The ancient text put it simply, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. We understand this in farming. It is absurd to think a farmer could plant seeds of thistle and expect to harvest bushels of corn. It is a fool's wish. The farmer knows he will reap what he sows. He knows he must also reap more than he sows. He plants one seed of corn and gets back a stalk with multiple ears. The harvest is always a multiplication of the seed. But we have failed to apply this infallible law to the most important garden of all, the garden of the mind. Every day you are sowing seeds. Every conversation you have is a seed. Every television show you watch is a seed. Every person you allow into your life is planting seeds in the soil of your subconscious mind. You cannot sow seeds of gossip and expect to reap a harvest of trusting relationships. You cannot sow seeds of envy and expect to reap a harvest of inner peace. You cannot sow seeds of cynical, negative conversations and expect to reap a harvest of vibrant, optimistic success. The harvest is inevitable, and the harvest is a multiplication. Imagine two farmers. The first farmer is careless. He allows anyone and everyone to throw seeds into his field. The birds of doubt drop seeds of limitation. His neighbor, the complainer, tosses seeds of bitterness over the fence. He watches television programs that plant seeds of fear and division. He does this day after day, and then at the end of the season, he stands in his field full of weeds, thorns, and stunted growth, and he shakes his fist at the sky, blaming the sun, the rain, and his bad luck. The second farmer is a wise guardian. He understands his land is precious. He puts a fence around his field. He is incredibly selective about the seeds he allows to be planted. He seeks out the finest seeds of knowledge, of positivity, of ambition. He reads books from the great minds. He engages in conversations that spark new ideas. He allows only the most skillful fellow gardeners into his presence. And at the end of his season, his harvest is so abundant it overflows his barns. Which farmer are you? You must become a jealous guardian of the soil of your mind. You must understand that everything you allow in takes root, and you will, without fail, eat the fruit of the seeds you have allowed to be planted. So, how does this process work? We've established that you are responsible. We've established that you reap what you sow. Now let's look at the machinery that processes it all. Your mind is a factory, a magnificent processing plant. All day long, raw materials come into this factory. These materials are the influences we've been talking about, the ideas, attitudes, and beliefs from the world around you. Inside this factory is a set of machinery. That machinery is your personal philosophy. Your philosophy is what you know, your beliefs, your values, and your understanding of how the world works. It is the set of your sail. This machinery takes the raw materials, the influences, and processes them. The finished products that come out of your factory are your thoughts. And this is a critical sequence to understand. Your thoughts, produced day in and day out, lead to your feelings. Your feelings lead to your actions. And your actions, repeated over time, lead to your results, the life you live. Thought leads to feeling, leads to action, leads to result. If you don't like the results you are getting in your life, you must trace the assembly line backward. The results came from your actions. Your actions came from your feelings. Your feelings came from your thoughts. And your thoughts were the finished product created by your philosophy, processing the raw materials you fed it. If you consistently feed your factory with the raw materials of negativity, doubt, and limitation from the people you are around, even the best philosophy will struggle. The machinery will get clogged. The output will be compromised. You'll produce thoughts of fear, which lead to feelings of apathy, which lead to inaction, which leads to a life of quiet desperation. This is why guarding the doorway of your mind, choosing the raw materials you allow into your factory, is one of the most vital disciplines for success. And this brings us to the inevitable conclusion, the mathematical certainty that I call the law of averages. This law is not a theory. It is the predictable outcome of everything we have just discussed. It is the logical result of the seeds you plant and the raw materials you process. The law simply states, you will become the combined average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. It's not magic. It is a process of subconscious assimilation. You will start to talk like them. You will start to dress like them. You will start to think like them. You will read what they read. You will adopt their attitudes about money, about health, about politics, about life itself. You will calibrate your ambition to match theirs. People are like thermostats. If you are a 90-degree person, full of warmth, ideas, and ambition, and you place yourself in a room with 460-degree people. What will happen? You will not, by your presence alone, raise them all to 90. It is a thermodynamic impossibility. Instead, they will slowly, inevitably cool you down to 60. You will find yourself justifying why 60 is actually a very reasonable temperature. If you want to maintain your 90-degree fire, you must find other 90-degree rooms. If you want to become a 100-degree person, you must have the courage to leave the 90-degree room and find the people who operate at a higher temperature. So let's put it all together. Because you and you alone are responsible for the set of your sail. Because the universe operates on an infallible law of sowing and reaping. Because your mind is a factory that produces your reality based on the raw materials you provide it. Then it becomes undeniably clear that the most crucial, high-leverage, life-altering decision you can possibly make is your choice of associations. Who you allow to speak into your life is the single greatest determinant of the person you will become and the life you will live. Therefore, for the rest of our time together, we will not just talk about this. We will become masters of this one critical art, the art of association. We will learn how to audit our lives with the precision of a surgeon. We will learn how to prune with the wisdom of a master gardener. And we will learn how to deliberately cultivate a social soil so rich, so fertile, that the harvest of our lives can finally match the incredible potential of the seeds that lie dormant within us. This is the blueprint. Now, let us begin to build. In the grand architecture of life, we have laid our first foundational stone, the principle of radical personal responsibility. We have accepted that the wind of circumstance blows on us all, and that our destiny is determined not by the wind, but by the set of our sail, our philosophy. But a ship does not sail on the surface alone. Beneath the waves, there are forces at play, invisible currents, tides, and undercurrents that can render the most masterfully set sail useless. These currents can be so powerful, yet so subtle, that a captain can believe he is heading due north, while in reality, he is being dragged miles off course to the east. These invisible currents are the people in your life. Their influence is the social physics that governs your journey. It is not magic, it is not mystery, it is a science. And for our time together in this section, we are going to put these forces under the microscope. We are going to make the invisible visible. We will explore the three primary currents that are shaping you at this very moment. First, the environment of the mind, which is the contagion of attitude. Second, the architecture of belief, which is the prison of limitation. And third, the rhythm of results, which is the unconscious dance of habit. Let us begin with the most immediate and pervasive current, attitude. We are told that attitude is a personal choice. Choose to be positive, they say. And this is true, but it is only a partial truth. It fails to account for a critical factor, the environment. You cannot choose to breathe healthy air in a room filled with poison. Your body will be affected. In the same way, you cannot choose to maintain a healthy attitude in an environment saturated with toxicity. Your mind will be affected. Attitude is contagious. It is an emotional osmosis that occurs in every interaction you have. Human beings are wired for connection. We possess something called mirror neurons. It is the subconscious mechanism that allows us to feel empathy, to understand others. But it is also the mechanism that makes us susceptible to their emotional state. When someone around you is perpetually negative, your brain, in an attempt to connect, begins to mirror that negativity. You are absorbing their attitude, whether you consent to it or not. But let's be more specific. It is not a simple binary of positive and negative. The current of attitude has varying degrees of toxicity. Consider the complainer. The complainer is the leaky faucet of energy in your life. Drip, drip, drip. They find fault in everything. The coffee is too hot. The service is too slow. The government is corrupt. Their boss is unfair. They are not malicious. They are often just stuck. But spending time with them is exhausting. You leave the conversation feeling drained without quite knowing why. It is because you have subconsciously spent your own precious energy trying to plug the leak of their negativity. Then you have a more dangerous form, the cynic. The cynic is not just a complainer, the cynic is an aggressor. The cynic believes that hope is for the naive and ambition is for the foolish. They don't just see the glass as half empty. They will try to convince you the water is poisoned. They will mock your goals. They will laugh at your attempts at self-improvement. Oh, reading another one of those books, are you? Let me know how that works out. Cynicism is a poison disguised as intellectual superiority. It is the bitter philosophy of those who have given up, and misery loves company. They will try to pull you into their dark comfort to validate their own surrender. I once knew a man who worked in an office with two distinct groups. One group gathered in the break room every morning to dissect everything that was wrong with the company. The leads were bad, the commission structure was unfair, the new software was slow, their sales numbers were, predictably, abysmal. The other group met by the water cooler. They talked about what was working. They shared strategies for handling difficult clients. They celebrated small wins. Their sales numbers were consistently the highest in the company. Same product, same market. The only difference was the air they chose to breathe. One was an environment of complaint. The other was an environment of contribution. Which break room are you spending your time in? The second current runs deeper. It is the current of belief. If attitude is the air you breathe, belief is the very ground you walk on. It is the architecture of your reality, and the people you associate with are the primary architects of the world you perceive. They don't just tell you what you can or cannot do. They construct an entire reality, a prison of belief, and invite you to live inside it with them. This prison has 4 invisible walls. The first is the wall of the past. This wall is built with the bricks of history and tradition. No one in our family has ever started a business. Remember what happened to your cousin when he tried that? Don't make the same mistake. They use the past not as a guide for learning, but as a fence to prevent escape. The second is the wall of the present. This is the wall of realism. Be realistic, they say, which is often code for surrender your ambition. They point to the economy, to the current obstacles, to the competition. They are masters of the status quo, the guardians of the average. They will tell you to settle because settling is safe. The third, and perhaps the most powerful, is the wall of the others. This wall is built with the fear of judgment. What will people think? You don't want to look foolish if you fail, do you? They teach you to live your life according to the opinions of the crowd. They trade their personal potential for social approval, and they will encourage you to make the same disastrous bargain. And the final wall, the most insidious of all, is the wall of yourself. This is where they project their own self-doubt directly onto you. Are you sure you have what it takes? Do you really think you're smart enough for that? Because they do not believe in their own potential, they cannot fathom yours. We are all born in a chicken coop of limiting beliefs. We are born into a family, a culture, a neighborhood that has its own set of rules about what is possible. And the old story of the eagle raised among the chickens is worth telling again. With a deeper look, imagine the inner life of that magnificent bird. Day after day, it scratches the dirt, clucking and pecking, because that is the reality presented to it. That is the world built by its associations. But every now and then, a gust of wind catches its wings, and it feels a strange lifting sensation, a deep instinctual memory of something else, a longing for the blue expanse it sees above. But when it mentions this feeling, the other chickens cluck with concern. Don't be silly, the ground is where we belong. The sky is for the dangerous ones. Be happy with your worms. And so, the eagle suppresses the instinct. It pushes down the longing. It accepts the architecture of the chicken coop as the entirety of the universe. One afternoon, it looks up and sees a breathtaking sight. A creature like itself, but not soaring, riding the thermal currents with effortless grace and power. A king in its own kingdom. And in that moment, the eagle is faced with the most terrifying choice of its life. To believe the chickens who have defined its entire existence, or to believe the magnificent, undeniable evidence of its own eyes. Most eagles die in the chicken coop, not because their wings are broken, but because their beliefs are. They have been so thoroughly convinced of their own limitations by their associations that they never even make a serious attempt to fly. They choose the familiar misery of the coop over the terrifying glory of the sky. A belief is just a thought you continue to think, and the people around you are the primary suppliers of the thoughts you think over and over and over again. Finally, we come to the third great current, the current of habit. If attitude is the air and belief is the architecture, then habit is the rhythm of your daily life. It is the unconscious dance you perform from morning to night. And your dance steps are almost always choreographed by the troupe you dance with. Excellence is not an act, it is a habit. And so is mediocrity. We are creatures of rhythm, and the rhythm of our social circle becomes the rhythm of our own lives. Consider the rhythm of conversation. What is the beat of the conversations you have? Is it the quick, staccato rhythm of gossip and complaining? Or is it the thoughtful, expansive rhythm of ideas, of strategy, of future plans? The rhythm of your conversation sets the rhythm of your thoughts. And your thoughts, as we know, are the blueprint of your life. Consider the rhythm of consumption. What is the cadence of what your circle consumes? Is it the frantic, sugar-fueled rhythm of junk food and mindless entertainment, a constant search for the next distraction? Or is it the disciplined rhythm of healthy food, of exercise, of consuming knowledge that nourishes the mind? What you consume, you become, and your circle sets the menu. And most importantly, consider the rhythm of contribution versus comfort. Is the daily dance of your associates a dance of creation? Are they building, striving, practicing, producing? Is their rhythm one of contribution? Or is their dance a slow, comfortable shuffle towards retirement? A rhythm of escape, of thank God it's Friday, of living for the weekend? I knew a young man full of fire and ambition. He joined a firm where the prevailing rhythm was good enough. The dance was to arrive at 9, take a long lunch, and rush out the door at 5. For the first few months, he resisted. He danced to his own rhythm. He worked through lunch. He stayed late. But the pressure to conform was immense. The subtle jokes, the invitations he had to turn down, the feeling of being an outsider. Slowly, imperceptibly, he began to fall into step. The long lunch became a regular thing. The 5 p.m. exit became his habit. A year later, his fire was gone. He was just another dancer in the troupe of mediocrity. He didn't decide to surrender. He just fell into the rhythm. You cannot achieve an extraordinary life while dancing to the rhythm of an ordinary crowd. Your willpower alone is no match for the hypnotic beat of daily association. So there they are, the three invisible currents. The attitude that colors your mind, the beliefs that construct your reality, and the habits that automate your actions. They are constantly at work, pulling you, shaping you, defining you. This is not a cause for despair, it is a cause for awareness. For the first duty of any ship's captain is to understand the sea. The first task of an architect is to survey the land. And now that we have made these invisible forces visible, our next great task is to turn this powerful lens onto our own lives. We have just navigated the deep, invisible currents that shape our lives. We have made the unseen seen. We now understand the physics of influence, how the attitudes, beliefs, and habits of others are constantly molding our reality. An understanding of a problem, however, is not the same as a solution. Awareness is the first step, but it is not the destination. The next step requires a different kind of courage. Not the courage to learn, but the courage to look. It is time to move from the general to the specific. It is time to turn the powerful lens of this philosophy away from the world at large and turn it directly onto your own life. It is time for the great life audit. Now, let's be very clear about what this is. This is not an exercise in blame. This is not a process of judging your friends or family. This is an objective, unemotional audit of the assets and liabilities that are currently shaping the enterprise of your future. You are the CEO of your life, and a good CEO must, from time to time, look at the balance sheet with unflinching honesty. They must identify what is producing a profit and what is producing a loss. A great doctor must diagnose before he can prescribe a cure, and the diagnosis is often the most uncomfortable part of the process. The truth, as they say, will set you free, but first, it may make you miserable. Let us begin the diagnosis. We will start by examining the liabilities. We will search for the anchors that are creating drag on your ship. They come in many forms, but today we will identify the four most common and costly. First, we must identify the complainer, the thief of energy. The signature of the complainer is that their entire worldview is filtered through the lens of a problem. They are not just reporting on difficulties, they are emotionally invested in them. Their language is the language of the victim. The world is happening to them. Their boss, their spouse, their government, these are all forces conspiring against their happiness. Their modus operandi is to seek validation for their misery. They don't want solutions, they want sympathy. They want you to join them in their chorus of complaint. And here is the subtle damage. When you spend time with them, you leave feeling heavy, drained. You may not even know why. It is because you have been in the presence of an energy vampire. They have fed on your optimism, your enthusiasm, and your creative spirit to fuel their own negativity. Imagine two business partners. One is a builder, a problem solver. The other is a complainer. The builder comes in excited. I have an idea for a new marketing campaign. The complainer sighs. The market is terrible right now. Our competitors have more funding. I don't think it will work. The builder pushes back, but what if we tried? The complainer replies, we already tried something like that 2 years ago and it was a disaster. Day after day, the builder's fire is met with the wet blanket of the complainer's pessimism. Eventually, the builder stops bringing new ideas. The business stagnates. The complainer then has new evidence to support their worldview. See, I told you this was a tough market. They do not realize they created the very reality they complain about. Check your life. Who are the thieves of your energy? Next, we identify the doubter, the assassin of ambition. The doubter is often more dangerous than the complainer because they operate under the guise of love and concern. Their weapon is not overt negativity, but the subtle poison of realism. They are the masters of the concerned question. A new business? That sounds risky. Are you sure you've thought it through? I'm just worried about you. Their modus operandi is to magnify risk and minimize potential. They will ask you a dozen questions about what could go wrong and not a single question about what could go right. They are not trying to be malicious. In their own mind, they are protecting you. But what they are actually protecting is their own comfortable, predictable world. Your ambition is a threat to their status quo. If you succeed, it casts a light on their own inaction. The subtle damage of the doubter is that they assassinate your dreams in the cradle. They kill your ideas with the death of 1,000 qualifications. They make you feel naive for being hopeful, foolish for being ambitious. Think of the young writer who excitedly tells a friend they are going to write a novel. The friend, a doubter, replies, "Wow, do you know how hard it is to get published? Thousands of books are written every year and almost none of them make it." The writer's enthusiasm deflates. The friend continues, "And what will you live on while you're writing? It's just not very practical." The conversation continues, and with each practical, realistic, caring question, a layer of the writer's dream is stripped away. 2 weeks later, the once exciting novel is just a forgotten file on a laptop, another victim of a possibility assassin. Who in your life under the banner of love is quietly killing your future? Third, the most dangerous of all, the cynic, the poisoner of the well. If the complainer drains your energy and the doubter kills your ambition, the cynic poisons the very wellspring of your hope. The cynic's core belief is that sincerity is a weakness, trust is for fools, and everyone is motivated by a hidden selfish agenda. Their weapon is sarcasm, their defense is mockery. The cynic's modus operandi is to deconstruct and diminish everything. If you admire a successful person, the cynic will be the first to tell you how they probably cheated to get there. If you express a noble value, they will mock your naivete. They don't just believe the glass is half empty, They believe the water is contaminated and the person who gave you the glass is trying to trick you. The long-term damage of associating with a cynic is catastrophic. It can erode your very character. It can teach you to be suspicious instead of trusting. It can make you bitter, hard, and closed off. It can destroy your ability to believe in the good of others and ultimately in the good of yourself. Imagine a new employee, young and enthusiastic, starting a job. They are met by a veteran cynic who takes them under their wing. "Let me tell you how things really work around here," the cynic says with a smirk. "Don't believe anything management tells you. Everyone is just out for themselves. The key is to do the minimum required and not get noticed." The new employee, wanting to fit in, begins to adopt this philosophy. Their light of enthusiasm is extinguished and replaced by the dim flickering candle of cynical survival. They haven't just been taught a new job, they have been indoctrinated into a philosophy of despair. Who in your life is poisoning your well? Finally, the most subtle anchor, the idle, the siren of stagnation. The idle are not negative people. They are often pleasant, fun, and easy to be around. They are not complainers or cynics. Their danger lies not in what they add to your life, but in what they subtract, your forward momentum. Their primary goal is comfort. Their religion is relaxation. Their language is, don't work too hard. Let's just hang out. There's always tomorrow. Their modus operandi is to make stagnation feel good. They are the siren song that lures your ship of ambition toward the warm, sunny beaches of mediocrity. The danger is that it doesn't feel dangerous. It feels like friendship. It feels like fun. But the subtle damage is that they are a constant drag on your urgency. They normalize procrastination. They make the choice to coast feel like the most intelligent option. Imagine a group of friends who were ambitious in college. After graduation, one of them wants to keep that fire going, to build something remarkable, but the rest of the group just wants to recreate the comfort of their college days. Every weekend, it's the same routine. Parties, distractions, reminiscing about the good old days. The ambitious one feels a constant pull. Come on, just for tonight. You can work on your business tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Years pass, and the ambitious friend is still in the same place, surrounded by the same comfortable conversations, their great potential slowly dissolving in a warm bath of idle friendship. Who in your life makes stagnation feel like a celebration? That was the difficult work. That was the diagnosis. But an audit is not complete when you only list the liabilities. A wise CEO also takes a careful inventory of the assets. A great gardener does not just pull weeds, he nourishes the flowers. Now, you must turn your attention to the other side of the ledger. You must actively search for the engines in your life. An engine is not just someone who is nice to you. An engine is someone whose presence actively propels you forward. Let us identify 4 of them. First, there is the inspirer. This is the person whose life is an example of what is possible. They don't have to preach to you. Their results do the talking. Being around them expands your sense of what you can achieve. They are the living evidence that your goals are not foolish. Second is the challenger. This person is one of your most valuable assets. They care about you too much to let you settle for less than your best. They are the ones who ask the hard questions. Is that really the best you can do? Why have you been procrastinating on your most important goal? They are not doubters. They are believers who hold you to a higher standard. Their presence prevents you from getting complacent. Third is the expert. This is the person who has the knowledge or skill you wish to acquire. They can be a formal mentor, a colleague who has mastered their craft, or even an author whose books you study. Associating with the expert collapses time. They can teach you in a year what it took them a decade to learn. And finally, there is the encourager. This is the person who is your emotional fuel. They are your believer, your cheerleader. When you are filled with self-doubt, they remind you of your strength. When you fail, they are the ones who help you get back up. Their belief in you can often serve as a bridge to get you to the point where you can believe in yourself. Now, we move from theory to practice. It is time for you to create your own balance sheet. I call this the unflinching ledger. Take out a piece of paper. Create 3 columns. In the first column, write the name of every person you spend significant time with. Friends, family, co-workers. Be thorough. In the second column, write the primary effect they have on you. Are they an anchor or are they an engine? And be specific. Are they a complainer, a challenger, an inspirer, a cynic? Give them a title. In the third and most important column, describe how you feel after an interaction with them. Use specific emotional words. Do you feel energized or drained, hopeful or anxious, larger or smaller, smarter or dumber, motivated or stagnant? This is a private document. No one needs to see it but you. So, be ruthlessly honest. Do not write down what you wish you felt. Write down what you actually feel. Your feelings are the compass that tells you the true direction of the influence. Pay special attention to the people who seem neutral, the idle. They are often the most overlooked liability, creating a slow, comfortable drag toward mediocrity. This ledger is not a hit list. It is not a command to end relationships. It is data. It is clarity. It is the end of guessing and the beginning of knowing. It is the diagnosis. This audit is the moment of truth. It is the point where you stop being a passive passenger shaped by the random currents of your life and step into the role of the conscious architect, the CEO. You now have the data. You have the clear-eyed view of your assets and your liabilities. Your next task, the task of a true leader, is to summon the courage to act on what you now know. You have done the difficult work. You have held up the mirror of unflinching honesty to your life. You have created the unflinching ledger. In your hands right now, you hold more than just a list of names. You hold a map of the forces that have been shaping you. And this map has led you here to a crossroads. This, my friends, is the great filter. This is the moment where the majority of people stop. The analysis is done. The information has been gathered. And the comfort of knowing is far less terrifying than the chaos of acting. To know you are in a prison is one thing. To attempt to escape it is another entirely. This part of our journey is not about intellect. It is about courage. It is about the gut-wrenching, soul-testing courage to choose your future over your history. The courage to honor the person you wish to become over the person others are comfortable with you being. This is the moment you decide if you are merely an inhabitant of your life or its architect. Before we can even speak of strategies, we must confront the 2 giants that guard the path of change: guilt and loyalty. When you contemplate distancing yourself from someone, especially someone you've known for a long time, your subconscious mind screams betrayal. It is a primal instinct. For thousands of years, our survival depended on the tribe. To be cast out from the tribe was a death sentence. And so, the thought of disconnecting from a friend or family member triggers this ancient alarm bell. It feels wrong. It feels disloyal. It feels selfish. But we must redefine these terms. We must reframe the entire narrative. You are being called to a higher loyalty. It is the loyalty to your own potential. It is the loyalty to the gifts you were given. It is the loyalty to the person you promised yourself you would one day become. What could be more selfish than allowing that person to die quietly out of a fear of making someone else uncomfortable? There is a profound difference between being selfish and practicing self-preservation. Imagine you are on an airplane. The cabin pressure drops. The oxygen masks deploy. What is the first non-negotiable rule? You must secure your own mask first before attempting to help anyone else, even your own child. Why? Is it a selfish act? No. It is the highest form of responsibility. If you pass out from lack of oxygen while trying to help someone else, you are no good to anyone. You both lose. Some of the relationships in your life are causing a drop in cabin pressure. They are depleting your oxygen of hope, of ambition, of peace. To continue to engage with them in the same way is to slowly suffocate. To pull back, to put on your own mask first, is not an act of rejection. It is the ultimate act of responsibility. It is the only way you will ever have enough oxygen to truly help anyone, to truly contribute. To truly live, you are not abandoning them. You are finally honoring yourself. You are not being selfish. You are being responsible for the one life you have been given to steward. Once you have won the battle in your mind, you can begin to act in the world. This is not a demolition job. It is a surgery. It requires precision, wisdom, and the right tool for the right situation. Yelling, arguing, blaming, these are the tools of a butcher. We are architects. We are surgeons. Let us examine the three primary instruments at our disposal. First is the strategy of limited association, the art of the edited life. This is your most versatile instrument. It is for the anchors who are not necessarily toxic but are agents of stagnation, the idle friends, or for family members with whom a total break is neither possible nor desirable. The principle is simple. You control the dosage. You must become the master of your own calendar. You will no longer be passively available. You will be pleasantly unavailable. When they invite you to an aimless all-day event, you respond, I can't make it for the whole day, but I would love to catch up for a coffee for an hour on Tuesday morning. You define the time. You define the duration. You are in control. You edit your life. You give people 1 hour of your focus time instead of an entire afternoon of your distracted time. You learn to say no without guilt, understanding that every no to a low priority activity is a yes to your high priority future. The mindset is this: my time and energy are my most precious, non-renewable assets. I will allocate them with the intention of an investor, not the carelessness of a gambler. The second instrument is expanded association, the art of dilution. This strategy is for situations you cannot easily edit or avoid: the cynical coworker in a mandatory meeting, the complaining relative at a family dinner. To engage with them one-on-one is to be pulled into their gravitational field. Therefore, you must change the physics of the encounter. You dilute their influence by expanding the circle. Never meet them alone. When you are in a group setting, deliberately bring an engine, an inspiring, positive person into the conversation. You become a conversational architect. When the complainer begins to lament the state of the world, you can turn to the engine and ask, John, you were just telling me about that fascinating book you're reading. What was the key idea? You are not confronting the negativity. You are redirecting the energy. You are changing the subject, not with awkwardness, but with purpose. You are diluting the poison with clean water. The mindset here is revolutionary. I am the thermostat, not the thermometer. I will not merely reflect the temperature of the room. I will have the courage and the skill to set it. And finally, the most serious instrument, total disassociation, the art of the clean break. This is the surgery reserved for the truly toxic relationships, the cynics, the manipulators, the anchors that are actively causing you harm and sabotaging your growth. Some relationships are not just holding you back, they are sinking you. And with these, a clean break is the only path to survival. There are two methods: the slow fade, where you become progressively less available, your responses become slower until the connection naturally withers from lack of energy. This is a passive, non-confrontational approach. But sometimes what is required is the honest conversation. This is not an argument. It is a declaration of your truth. It requires immense courage. The script is simple, and it is built on I statements, not accusations. You say, John, I value the friendship we've had, but I am on a new path in my life right now that requires all of my focus and a different kind of energy. For my own well-being, I need to make some changes, and this means I won't be able to connect in the same way anymore. I wish you nothing but the best. There is no blame. There is no room for argument. It is a simple, respectful statement of your reality. The mindset is that of a surgeon. This will be painful for a moment, but this moment of pain is the price for a lifetime of health. I am choosing my future. When you make these choices, you must be prepared for the aftermath. The system will fight to pull you back into your old orbit. When you begin to change, the people who are not changing will become deeply uncomfortable, and they will react. You will face the guilt trip. After all we've been through, you're just walking away. They will use your shared history as a chain to bind you to a shared, limited future. You will face the accusation. This is the most common. You've changed. You think you're better than us now. And when you hear these words, I want you to smile inwardly and say to yourself, yes, I am trying to be better than I was yesterday. That is the entire point. Do not say this out loud. There is no need. Your life will be your argument. And you will face the gossip. They will talk about you to others in the group to reinforce their own position and to cast you as the villain. You must be prepared for this. Your response to all of it must be the same, a quiet, dignified silence. Do not engage, do not defend, do not argue. To do so is to re-enter the storm. You must become the calm, unmovable rock against which their emotional waves crash and dissipate. Let your peace, your focus, and your results be your only reply. Remember the man from our story, the one who decided to change. He goes home, filled with new ideas from a book, and is met with the cynical scoff from a friend. Look at you, acting like you're better than us now. In that moment, the man is at the crossroads. He can weather the storm of that comment. He can endure the brief awkwardness, the temporary conflict, and hold fast to his new self. Or he can do what most people do. He can surrender. He can say, you're right, it's just a silly book. He can trade the terrifying conflict of growth for the warm comfort of belonging. And as he puts the book down and sinks into the couch, a universe of possibility dies with a quiet sigh. His tragedy was not his friend's comment. His tragedy was his choice to agree with it. So we come to the final, unavoidable truth. The price of a new life is your old one. You cannot have both. You cannot reach for a new future with your hand still clinging to a past that no longer serves you. This is the transaction. But for all that you give up, look at what you gain. The prize is not just success. It is not just money. The prize is space. You gain the mental space, once occupied by negativity and drama, to finally think your own thoughts. You gain the emotional space to feel peace. You gain the space in your calendar, your most precious asset, to invest in your own growth. And when you create this space, something miraculous happens. The universe, like nature, abhors a vacuum, and it will fill that space. New people, engine people, will begin to appear in your life, drawn to the light of your clarity and the fire of your purpose. This courage, this difficult, painful, liberating choice is the ultimate act of the architect. It is the clearing of the land. It is the demolition of the old unsafe structures before the new foundation can be laid. You have surveyed the land. You have diagnosed the problems. And now you have the tools and the courage to clear the way. The next step is to begin to build. Now I know that what we have just discussed is perhaps the most difficult work a person can undertake. This process, this social surgery, it requires a level of courage that few are willing to summon. And if you are serious about this journey, you should not have to walk it alone. If you are looking for a community, a source of strength and philosophy to refuel you when this work gets difficult, then I encourage you to do one simple thing right now. Take a moment to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications. This community is designed to be one of your new positive associations. A place you can return to again and again to fortify your resolve. Make that commitment to yourself and let us continue this incredible work together. You have done it. You have performed the social surgery. You have cleared the land. You have faced the giants of guilt and loyalty, and you have chosen your future. And now you may find yourself standing in a new place. A place of quiet. A place of space. For some, this space may feel like loneliness. It may feel like a void. The familiar noise is gone, and the silence can be deafening. But I am here to tell you that this space is not a void. It is the single most powerful and precious resource you now possess. It is a fertile void. It is the blank page for the author. It is the untouched marble for the sculptor. It is the clean slate. You have not just eliminated the negative. You have created the necessary precondition for the magnificent. Our task now is not to simply find new friends. That is a passive wish. Our task is to become a master curator, a deliberate architect. Our task is to strategically, artfully, and intentionally build our own personal board of directors, our own circle of giants. But before we can seek the association of giants, we must first master the most fundamental relationship of all, the association you have with yourself. If you cannot enjoy your own company, why would anyone else? For many, the external voices of doubt and complaint are merely an echo of their own internal dialogue. You have silenced the critics around you, but is there still a critic living inside your own head? You must turn your newfound quiet into a workshop for self-improvement. This is the discipline of solitude. Do not confuse solitude with loneliness. Loneliness is a state of lack. Solitude is a state of power. It is in solitude that you read. It is in solitude that you plan. It is in solitude that you think deeply and without interruption. It is in solitude that you can have a conversation with the most important person in your life, the person you are striving to become. Begin a new practice, journaling. The act of writing is the act of clarifying thought. When you write down your goals, your fears, your plans, you are engaging in a dialogue with your higher self. You are becoming your own mentor, your own coach, your own most trusted advisor. You must become your own primary engine before you can hope to attract others. Think of it this way. You are the sun of your own solar system. You must be the source of your own energy, your own light, your own gravitational pull. You cannot hope to attract magnificent planets into your orbit if you yourself are a cold, dark rock. You must first build your own fire. This is the very foundation of the law of attraction. To attract attractive people, you must first become an attractive person. And attractive does not mean physical beauty. It means being attractive in your discipline, your character, your passion, your knowledge, and your energy. Once you have begun to build this powerful relationship with yourself, you are ready to expand. And the first, most accessible place to find giants is the library. Some of the most profound mentors in my life are people I have never met. They are thinkers, leaders, and pioneers who have long since passed from this world, but they left behind a miracle. They distilled a lifetime of struggle, of triumph, of wisdom into a few hundred pages and said, "Here, this is what I learned. Take it." What an incredible opportunity. You can be mentored by Marcus Aurelius on the nature of resilience. You can have a conversation with Napoleon Hill about the principles of success. You can learn about leadership from Abraham Lincoln, all for the price of a library card. But you must not approach this as a passive reader. You must engage with these great minds as an active student. This is how you associate with a book. First, you read with a pen in your hand. A book is not a sacred object to be kept pristine. It is a workshop. It is a gymnasium for the mind. Underline, make notes in the margins. Argue with the author. Ask questions. Turn the reading into a dialogue. Second, adopt the one idea rule. Do not read a chapter simply to finish it. Read a chapter with the deliberate mission of extracting one single powerful idea that you can apply to your life that day. Knowledge that is not acted upon is merely trivia. It is the application of knowledge that creates wisdom and results. Third, you must curate your own mastermind library. There are thousands of books, but only a handful will truly change your life. Your job is to find those books. And when you do, you do not just read them, you study them, you return to them year after year. These authors become your invisible counsel, your permanent board of directors, offering you their timeless wisdom whenever you seek it. A young man in the 19th century, born into poverty and isolation, had very few friends and fewer opportunities, but he had access to a few precious books. In the quiet solitude of a log cabin, lit by candlelight, he had conversations with the great minds of history. He debated with the founding fathers. He studied the logic of the ancient Greeks. This young man was Abraham Lincoln. He built one of the most powerful minds in history, not by his physical associations, but by deliberately choosing to associate with an invisible council of the wise. Who is on your council? Once you have fortified your inner world and built your invisible council, you are ready to forge your physical circle. But your entire approach must now change. You are no longer a hunter, desperately searching for successful people to help you. You are now a gardener. You have worked on your own soil. You have become a source of value. And a beautiful garden does not need to hunt for butterflies. It simply is, and the butterflies are naturally attracted to it. But even a gardener must know where the best seeds and sunlight are. You must deliberately go to the geography of growth. Giants do not congregate in the taverns of complaint. They do not gather at the festivals of distraction. You will find them where growth is the agenda. At seminars, at industry workshops, in high-level mastermind groups, in charities run by people of substance. You must have the courage to step into rooms where you are not the smartest person present. In fact, if you are consistently the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. But getting into the room is only the beginning. The price of admission is not just the ticket fee. The real price of admission is the value you bring. Before you go to such a gathering, do your homework. Study the speakers. Understand the industry. Prepare intelligent, thoughtful questions. Be a person of substance, not a person of need. And this leads to the art of the question. When you do have a moment with a person of influence, what do you ask? The amateur asks for something. Can you help me? Can you give me a job? Can you introduce me to someone? This is the language of taking. The master asks a question that shows genuine curiosity and respect. What was the most pivotal book you read in your 20s? What is a common myth about your industry that you found to be untrue? What's a project you are working on right now that you're truly passionate about? This type of question shifts the entire dynamic. It is a dialogue among equals, a sharing of ideas. It shows you are there to learn, not just to take. And the final key, the master key to forging your circle of giants, is the principle of contribution. The fastest way into any high-level circle is to find a way to help. Be a volunteer at the event. Use your unique skills to solve a problem for them. Offer an introduction that would be valuable to them. Add value first, without any expectation of return. The value you give is the hook that pulls you into their orbit. The world is filled with takers. Be a giver, and you will become a magnet for the very people you wish to attract. Think of building your circle of giants like building a great cathedral. It does not happen by accident. You must deliberately seek out the master architects, the inspirers. You must find the engineers who will test your plans, the challengers. You must learn from the master stonemasons, the experts, and you must have the support of those who believe in the project, the encouragers. Each person is chosen. Each relationship is cultivated with purpose. This is the art of deliberate connection. So there is the strategy. A three-tiered approach to building a world-class support system. It begins with the primary association, mastering the relationship with your own highest self in the workshop of solitude. It expands to your invisible council, where you invite the greatest minds in history to be your personal mentors through their work. And it culminates in the deliberate connection, where you as a person of value forge a physical circle of giants who challenge and inspire you. You are not a victim of your current social circle. Let me repeat that. You are not a victim, you are a volunteer. And at any moment, you can choose to resign from that position and apply for a new one. The search for giants, in the end, is not about finding perfect people to save you. It is the process that forces you to become a giant yourself. It is the journey of becoming someone worthy of the associations you seek. So go, begin the search, begin the work. The search for giants is, in the end, the search for the giant that has been sleeping within you. We have been on a remarkable journey together, an architect's journey. We have surveyed the invisible currents that shape our lives. We have conducted the great life audit, identifying with unflinching honesty the anchors that hold us back and the engines that propel us forward. We have summoned the incredible courage to perform the social surgery, clearing the land of toxic influences. And we have laid out the blueprint for building a new, powerful circle of giants. We have until this moment been the student, the apprentice, the builder, focused on our own foundation, our own walls, our own roof. And this work is noble, it is necessary, and it is the prerequisite for everything that follows. But the journey of the architect does not end when their own house is built. A true master builder, once their own home is secure, then turns their attention to the city. We have spent our time together with the lens of philosophy pointed inward. Now, we must do the most courageous thing of all. We must turn the lens around. Up to this point, we have asked, who is influencing me? Now we must ask the ultimate question of a mature and responsible life, the question that defines your character and determines your legacy. And that question is, what kind of influence are you? Here is the first and most fundamental truth you must accept. You do not have a choice whether you influence others. You only have a choice of what kind of influence you will be. Influence is not an activity you decide to turn on or off. It is a constant state of being. From the moment you enter a room, from the moment you open your mouth, from the energy you carry, even in your silence, you are transmitting a signal. You are a broadcasting tower, and you are always on the air. Think of yourself as a lighthouse on the shore of humanity. You cannot choose to not emit a light. You can only choose the quality of your signal. Is your light bright, clear, steady, and true, guiding others safely through the storm? Or is your light dim, flickering, inconsistent? Or worse, has it gone out completely, adding to the darkness and confusion? Many people live their lives as accidental influencers. They are unaware of the signal they are sending. They transmit their moods, their fears, their complaints, their cynicism, without ever considering the effect it has on the ships that are navigating by their light, their children, their spouses, their colleagues, their friends. The first step in becoming a positive force is to move from being an accidental influencer to a conscious one. It is to accept the profound responsibility that your very presence is shaping the world around you. Before, in our audit, we looked for the anchors in our lives, the complainer, the doubter, the cynic. Now, the moment of true integrity arrives. We must have the courage to ask, is there a trace of any of these anchors in me? When my friend calls me with a great idea, is my first instinct to be a doubter, to be realistic? When I am at lunch with my colleagues, do I become a complainer, adding my voice to the chorus of negativity? When I see someone else succeed, does a part of me become a cynic? This is the ultimate audit. And it is the beginning of your journey from a life of personal success to a life of true significance. To become a conscious, positive force is not a vague aspiration. It is a skill. It is a discipline. And it is built upon 4 foundational pillars. The first and most powerful is the influence of personal standards, the power of example. The world is drowning in opinion. It is starving for example. Your most powerful sermon is the one you live. Your greatest lecture is the life you lead. People may doubt what you say, but they will always believe what you do. When you hold yourself to a standard of excellence, you do something profound. You silently challenge everyone around you to raise their own standards. When you are the one who shows up on time, prepared with a positive attitude, you become the new average for the group. You become the thermostat that raises the temperature of the room. You do not need to preach discipline. You simply need to be disciplined. I once knew a manager who took over a team that was known for its mediocrity and poor morale. He didn't start with a series of grand speeches. On his first day, he simply arrived an hour early, rolled up his sleeves, and started doing the most difficult work with a quiet, focused intensity. He didn't demand excellence, he demonstrated it. He didn't talk about a positive attitude, he embodied it. Slowly, week by week, the culture of the team began to shift. People started staying a little later. The complaining in the hallways lessened. The quality of the work improved. He changed the entire team, not by what he said, but by the standard he set. Your life is a standard. What does it demand of those around you? The second pillar is the influence of encouragement, the power of belief. This is the art of being a believing mirror. It is the ability to see the giant within another person, even when they can only see the dwarf. It is the skill of reflecting back to them the potential they have forgotten they possess. But let us distinguish between cheap flattery and true encouragement. Flattery is empty, you're great. True encouragement is specific, it is earned, it is observant. I was incredibly impressed by the way you handled that difficult client. Your patience and clarity were remarkable. One is a hollow compliment, the other is a deposit of strength directly into another person's soul. So many people are starving for this. They live in a world that is constantly pointing out their flaws. To be the one person who points out their strengths is to have an almost magical power. Think of a teacher who sees a problem student who is disruptive in class. The system is designed to punish and label. But this teacher looks closer and sees that the student has a brilliant, restless mind. Instead of punishing the disruption, the teacher finds one thing the student excels at, perhaps drawing, perhaps a sharp sense of humor, and encourages it relentlessly. You have a gift here, the teacher says. For the first time, the student is seen not for their problems, but for their potential. That single, targeted act of belief can change the entire trajectory of a young life. Who in your life needs you to be their believing mirror today? The third pillar is the influence of stability, the power of the anchor. Yes, we used the word anchor before to describe a negative force, but an anchor, used correctly, is what keeps a ship safe and steady in a storm. In a world of constant chaos, drama, and emotional reactivity, the person who can remain calm, principled, and centered is a source of immense strength. When a crisis hits at work, the office is thrown into a panic. The complainer laments, "This is a disaster." The cynic blames, "I knew management would mess this up." The doubter panics, "What are we going to do?" The positive influencer is the anchor. They take a breath, they remain calm, they ask clarifying questions. Okay, what are the facts? What are our options? What is the next single productive step we can take? They do not add to the emotional chaos. They absorb it and transform it into focused action. They are the eye of the storm. In your family, in your company, in your community, people are desperately searching for this stability. You can choose to be that anchor. And the fourth pillar is the influence of challenge, the power of the question. True positive influence is not just about making people feel good. It is about helping them become better. And growth requires challenge. This is the pillar that requires the most courage. It is the art of caring about someone enough to make them uncomfortable. It is the ability to challenge them, not to diminish them, but to elevate them. The doubter asks questions to instill fear. Are you sure you can do that? The challenger asks questions to inspire growth. That's a good plan. What would it take to make it a great plan? What is one thing you're avoiding that you know you need to do? What would you attempt if you knew you could not fail? A true friend doesn't just pat you on the back and tell you your mediocre work is wonderful. A true friend, a true mentor, looks at your work and says, "This is good, but it is not you at your best. I know you have more." That challenge is the greatest gift you can give to someone with potential. It is the ultimate sign of respect. It says, "I see the giant in you, and I will not let you settle for being anything less." When you begin to live as a conscious, positive force, built upon these four pillars, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your influence takes on a life of its own. Your legacy is not a monument you build for yourself. It is the ripples that continue to expand from your life long after you are gone. Think of it. The manager who sets a new standard of excellence inspires a young employee. That employee goes on to start their own company, built on that very principle of excellence, and they create hundreds of jobs and a product that changes an industry. The manager may never know the full extent of their influence. The teacher who encourages the problem student inspires that student to become a doctor. That doctor goes on to save hundreds of lives. The teacher's single act of belief has rippled out into a legacy of healing. The challenging question you ask a friend inspires them to launch the business they were afraid of. That business solves a major problem in the community. Your question becomes a ripple of progress. This is the ultimate purpose of this great work. You do the hard, grueling work of self-mastery, of auditing your life, of facing your fears, of building new habits, not just for a bigger bank account or a nicer home. You do it to become a more powerful, positive, and coherent stone to cast into the great pond of humanity. You do it for the quality of the ripples you will leave behind. The greatest gift you can ever give to your family, your community, and the world is the person you become. And so we arrive at the peak of our journey. We have learned to survey our lives, to clear the negative, to build a circle of giants. And now you understand the final and most profound responsibility of the architect: to become a giant yourself, to become a force that helps others build their own magnificent lives. This is no longer just a strategy for success. It is a philosophy for a life of meaning. The final choice is what you will do with this power. Will you keep it for yourself, building a beautiful but isolated home? Or will you use your strength, your stability, your example, and your courage to become an architect of a better world? The choice, as always, is yours. Thank you for investing your most valuable asset, your time, and yourself today. If this philosophy has provided value to you, if it has sparked a new fire of decision within you, show your support by clicking the like button to share this message with others who may need to hear it. And to continue your journey of becoming the architect of the life you were truly meant to live, be sure to subscribe now. Let this be your first deliberate act of associating with a new standard of thinking.